There are many ways to start watching the Fate series. I personally have a unique way, reading about the legend of Arthur Pendragon. In today's video, we will learn about the representative character of the series, the character many people often call Saber. She is Artoria Pendragon. Note, Artoria in particular and the Chat Guild in general are an extremely important link in the Fate universe and are still exploited in many aspects. If in a few months there's a new plot that partially or completely changes the understanding of Artoria, it is still entirely possible. So keep in mind this video was published in January 2022 with contemporary worldview. First of all, let's talk about the historical context of the period that formed the legend of King Arthur. The Golden Roman Empire stretched from the Mediterranean, North Africa, Central Asia to France, parts of England and Germany today. After that golden age, the empire began a 200-year series of decline. In the country, the old cultural and moral foundations are broken, and prostitutes want to strip openly in a big way. Being in love has become so fashionable that the goal of maintaining popularity is often forgotten. Poor agricultural production due to climate change. The soldiers were confused because the aristocracy no longer appreciated martial spirit. A series of kings commanded too much, and most frightening is the over-reliance on barbarian mercenaries for defense. Whatever comes must come. In the 5th century, the Saxons, that is, the Germans ancient, mainly living from the German area today to the north up to Denmark, began attacking the Empire Rome, causing many soldiers to retreat from lands, including a remote island region today. We call it Little Roman Britain subdued the entire Roman Empire. Great. So what does German blood have to do with it? That being good at fighting must not be simple. In 410, the protection of the great Roman Empire was lost. So the fact that the blood of the land has something good at fighting must not be simple. In 410, he lost imperial protection. Indigenous forces on the island gradually stood up to divide resources and compete for benefits at the same time. There was also resistance against the Saxon invaders. This is called the Dark Ages, when heroes are born. Legends are born in those other times. We needed a legend to have for breakfast to help us get through the dark times. That is the legend of King Arthur. Before talking about the character Artoria Pendragon, let's take a moment for information related to works about King Arthur from the Middle Ages to the present. Records were discovered around the 5th century from Gogodin's poetry collections written in Celtic. The poem tells about another warrior named Wawaru, a brave warrior skilled in combat. These are similar details with the first King Arthur. On the other hand, the poem also mentions King Arthur's name. 1130 Geoffrey of Monmouth Porcelain used Latin and Celtic, wrote the foundation of the history of the kings of England with a focus on King Arthur, a work born from the combination of poetry and dialogue with blank spots and history caused by war. This is an important work, and it's not just about King Arthur. It also talks about battles, places, holy sword cities, and thrones, the magic of a wise Merlin advisor. These records still show that Arthur was closer to a military commander than a king, still unable to escape the shadow of the original warrior Wawaru. In 1155, the poet translated the above version into French, but don't forget to edit a few details about the Fair Round Table to further enhance Britain's position vis-a-vis France. While in France, poet Christian de Troyes added some typical romantic details here. Add to the adventures of Lancelot and Gawain the love triangle between Arthur, Queen Nuvia, Lancelot, especially the Holy War. Why is there a war saint here? Especially the Holy War. Why is war saint here? Poet lived around the 12th-13th centuries. This was a period of many crusades. If a work has the added power of God, then the pride of selling will fall away. From then on, the event began to find war saint has become a top marketing performance until now. Subsequent translations of the work gradually created names that are familiar to this day, like Camelot, Excalibur. In the 15th century, Thomas Malory compiled the stories and the death of King Arthur. Anyone who is interested can read it. In the Dongsa Soi region, also in the years 1418 of the 15th century, there is also another story with the hull named Thuan Thien Kim instead of Excalibur, Lam Sun Rebel Army instead of Round Table, and Lalai instead of Avalon. I'm kidding. From the 15th century to present, there have been many works continuously exploited about King Arthur. That's it for you guys can be understood. The legend of King Arthur up to now, there are many versions, from children's level to movie genres fighting to the point of fire. But most of the focus, the narrative will often shift from the self-King Arthur to other characters in the Round Table. As for the work Daughter of Tintagel, later renamed Morgan Le Fay, written by Faye Sampson around the period 1989 to 1992, it had a great influence on the legend described in Faye Sampson. There's really no one who can verify whether Arthur is real or not. Many controversies are still going on. Many records and controversies are still present. So if there is another record about the female version of King Arthur, it would be worth looking forward to. As for the work Daughter of Tintagel, later renamed Morgan Le Fay, written by Faye Sampson around the period 1989 to 1992, it had a great influence on the legend described in Faye Sampson. There's really no one who can verify whether Arthur is real or not. Many controversies are still going on. Many records and controversies are still present. So if there is another record about the female version of King Arthur, it would be worth looking forward to. Second, the British Isle of Fog is having disturbances regarding people and heroes, ending the age of gods and moving to the age of humans, the time when humanity repelled the mysteries of legend. For example, goblins, fairies, and phantasms can stand on their own feet. One of the most mysterious things worth mentioning is dragon blood. A stream of black magic flowed among the English kings of that time, and the one who currently holds it is Uther Pendragon. Worried about the source this royal magic will weaken, and no one who will succeed Uther will even consider having children by dragon, I mean artificial, not a traditional birth. Don't think nonsense at this time. The magician Merlin foretold that a white dragon of the Saxon invaders would attack and describes how the red dragon of Britain will fight and win. Uther's brother is Vortigern, who symbolizes the invading white dragon mentioned above. Because he wanted England to forever be a mysterious island nation and did not want an era of unclean people to rise, he brought the most negative way by colluding with the invaders to destroy the people who want to rise here. Merlin said that only Uther's child with Igraine could save England. Igraine was originally the wife of Duke Cornwall, a man who also disliked Uther. But Merlin is no ordinary magician. He is a semi-incubus who specializes in seducing girls in his dreams. So casting a spell on Igraine to make her fall in love with Uther is not difficult. The price for bewitching Uther is not difficult. The price for the enchantment was that Uther had to let Merlin take care of the child in the future. Believing Merlin's words, Uther decided to choose Igraine as the ideal woman to give birth to the future king. Her blood will bind Uther's blood and blood together to give birth to Artoria. When Igraine had Artoria, she understood the concept of that dragon protecting England and agreed to let Merlin take her child to Artoria because being born with Merlin's influence led to her having dragon blood in her body. Through that, Artoria has possessed a powerful magical heart since she was a child. This was part of Uther's plan to defeat his brother Vortigern. Uther and Igraine get married and has two daughters, Morgan Le Fay and Artoria. While Morgan is the embodiment of the island England, Artoria is the embodiment again of humanity. This place will have many people are confused because of the legends on the outside. It is mentioned that Morgan is a child of the Duke of Cornwall. However, for a moment, Morgan couldn't. The yard came out until Igraine got married Uther. so they are siblings 100%. Morgan realized you are not human but a high-level fairy incarnate of the British Isles. With Roll being a sister and self-recognition island, Morgan believes the throne, the other king, will be yours until a younger sister was born. Uther then collapsed because of a daughter's succession to the throne is unprecedented, whether it is the plum of the prophecy no matter what. At this time, like the deal about the previous seduction incident, Merlin has brought Artoria Pendragon go. When she was 5 years old, Merlin passed it on Knight Hector's care. The old knight was simple and wise even though he didn't believe it prophecy, but the girl's aura made him feel very special, similar to her aura, his former king. He changed her name to Artoria and raised her with all his heart and soul, meaning one of his biological sons. He believes that when she grows up, she will definitely not trivial. Sister Hector has a son, Sister Kay. At this time, in terms of status, Sister Kay is still higher than Artoria. On the contrary, in terms of swordsmanship, Kay never really beat Artoria. But Kay never admits defeat and likes to rebel and prove that he has won. Of course, Kay would never know how hard Artoria trained, because even when she was sleeping, the semi-incubus magician was always invading her dreams and practicing. Still human, she spent 10 years preparing for that. She knew the burden of a king was to kill everyone to protect everyone. The moment she pulled out that spiritual sword, she instantly transformed into something that was no longer human. At the same time, she realized that gender was no longer important if the king was good enough. This is the legendary king's path she has chosen. Since then, the 15-year-old girl has stopped aging. Caliburn Citadel also became her noble phantasm, but this was not the best sword. Rather, it is more of a royal decoration than a combat use, especially when compared to her other later weapons. Caliburn also has a fairy shooting mechanism, thermal energy, however, if overloaded the sword will be damaged. And King Arthur's conquests start with many difficulties, especially came from her sister Morgan Le Fay. Back to Morgan's sister by Artoria. She is one of the more complex and potentially exploitable characters in a sentence story. Morgan Le Fay is the embodiment of British mysticism. She believes that she is the real one, being the King of England. But embodied of mysticism is true. As for the King of England, it has many problems in it. Both Morgan and Artoria was born with the mission of not only bringing about an era of peace and the fall of King Arthur, but we still have to bring the human age out of the divine age. The number of plums made Morgan Le Fay angry, hated the king, his father and his sister, and harmed him to create conditions for Artoria to continue to grow strongly, because it takes both sisters for humanity to enter a new era. Before Morgan was born, British fairies had a certain amount of independence, but once she mastered her power, she was able to connect with fairies and elves across the British Isles. And the most important fairy in this story is the Lady of the Lake, Vivian. While Morgan shows his evil side, Vivian has a good side. These two opposing sides are shown right on Excalibur Cole. Not only that, Morgan and Vivian also set the stage to many important knights under Arthur's command. Vivian raised the abandoned French child, named Lancelot, and gave him the sword erudite. So later Lancelot was called the Lake Knight, handsome and romantic. Then Morgan had an affair and took Lancelot away, or maybe Lancelot took Morgan back. In general, they are French. Morgan continued to have an affair with King Lord Senior O'Connell and had children Gawain, Gaharic, Gareth and Agravain. These children also show Morgan's multiple personalities. While the 3 Grams generation is raised to become good knights in the future Round Table, Agravain is either an assassin or an inside spy working with the intention of overthrowing the dynasty. That leads to a special contrast between Gawain worshipping Artoria to the end with Agravain, who always silently accepted orders from Morgan. But the most important event by Morgan Le Fay is Artoria's trap in a battle that caused her to toss overpowered the Caliburn and damaged it create a premise for Vivian to give Avalon and the city of Excalibur two treasures forged in the Garden of Avalon from 14,000 years ago at the hands of 6 great planetary nymphs. Excalibur, two treasures forged in the Garden of Avalon 14,000 years ago at the hands of 6 great planetary nymphs. Excalibur is a divinely created weapon, a divine sword forged from the crystallization of humanity's desires, a human desire to survive and protect the planet. Of course, it's not just about protection. The divine sword was created to be used in the battle with the White Man, an extraterrestrial god who invaded around 12,000 BC. This resistance event was also a cause of the demise of the gods on Earth, making them just gods different from Caliburn's exterior decoration. The Excalibur looks simple and is actually a weapon used for combat. Excalibur also has another twin sword, Excalibur Galatea, used by chickens. This sister sword is also owned by Lady of the Lake Vivian. Unfortunately, there is not much information about this sword. Just know that it is strong when it absorbs sunlight and peaks at midday. Avalon is the sheath of Excalibur, an absolute defensive noble weapon, able heals wounds even when iron broken heart or broken bones, even curse. But there are 2 things need to take note. Bone fractures can be treated doesn't mean it doesn't hurt at times. That bone fracture. And the second is requires a link with Excalibur only in Artoria's hands. Is it possible activity? Thanks to Excalibur and Avalon, her body continues to be kept in a non-aging state despite losing Caliburn. The next weapon that Artoria possesses is the Holy Spear Rongomeniad. I actually couldn't find any documents about where Artoria received this Holy Spear from. All we know is that the amount of time she received was before ascending the throne. If you know, you can comment below. Although Rongomeniad is a created weapon, its main job is not fighting, but a product of the way the world is structured. Specifically, the original shape of the Holy Spear was a giant, glowing tower, deeply embedded to fix both sides. World together. One side is reality. Where people live, the other side is the back of the world at the foot of humanity's foundation, where mysteries are buried deep. The age of gods and animals in legends as goblins or dragons. Any magical creature suddenly arises and appears on the face. Reality must return the back of the world, because if you stay for a long time on the side reality, the mystical power will gradually disappear naturally. Thus, the Holy Spear is basically used as a structural construction product. If anything happens out of the essence of the Holy Spear, the 2 sides of the world will blend together, and that is the return of the divine age. And the spear that Artoria currently possesses is just a shadow of its true self, just doing the job of anchoring the world. So she had a strong force of knights. Jack divinely created weapons. Jack long battle experience from the already invincible King Jack. Artoria Pendragon, the avatar of the Red Dragon, approaches Londinium standing before the last person to feel her step to the throne, Mr. Vortigern, the incarnation of the White Dragon, the one who defeated King Uther, the one who stopped the progress of the human era. This uncle's strength comes from drinking dragon blood and even turning into a dragon, becoming a mystical hole in the world. The giant dragon destroyed the entire citadel. The darkness radiating from him extinguished the light on Excalibur Galaxy, completely overwhelming Excalibur. Artoria is facing the main island of England with the voice of Loiren. Their battle lasted for several hours before Vortigern bit and flew away. With all their strength, Gawain and Artoria used their swords to pierce Vortigern's arm, trapping him. Finally, Artoria summoned the Saint Rongomeniad and pierced Vortigern's heart. Thus, Artoria was officially ascended the throne. But the embodiment of England is not only their every old uncle, is still their Morgan too. And maybe everyone without realizing it. Artoria herself, Pendragon, is also holding power. Mysticism does not belong to humanity. She is also a hole in the world. The dynasty gradually stabilized. The king needed a successor. At this time, a border defense political marriage took place between Artoria and Guinevere, daughter of King Leodacran. In fact, Guinevere had admired Artoria since the first day she drew Caliburn, so there was real affection between the two. Caliburn, so there really is love between the two. The Knight of Fate find that heir. Merlin used temporary attachment magic penis for Artoria to her, and the queen can fulfill her royal duties, but due to not doing the above magic, so her gender is a secret, was also revealed. Reveal the secret, support the person who has followed you for 10 years. It's truly heartbreaking. 10 years Guinevere nurtured a dream until that fateful night. 10 years of waiting for something she loved. In the end, it was just heartbreaking. For 10 years, Guinevere nurtured a dream until that fateful night. 10 years of waiting for something she loved. In the end, it was just a fake. You'll never get the real thing. That night, there was actually one more person. That's Morgan Le Fay. Sensing an opportunity, Morgan used magic. Fascinated by Artoria's male form, steal and extract the king's sperm. She nourished her ovaries to create a clone, Mordred. With his magic, Morgan created an artificial person identical to the king. Because it was an artificial person homunculus, the girl grew up fast, and when she was only 3 years old, she disguised herself as a man and joined the Knights of the Round Table to approach the king. Morgan implanted in Mordred's head that she was the official heir to her father Artoria. However, you should absolutely never take off your helmet and show your face to everyone. Mordred himself also admired the perfect king. At the same time, he believes that his origin is more worthy of being king than his father. Artoria realized her sister Morgan's plot against Mordred, so she did not support the coup. Now the hatred is even more intense. The Round Table and Artoria continue to rule the country. Artoria is a peaceful king. Don't let emotions influence your decisions. Not having emotions is sometimes not very good. Maybe she didn't see the people's perspective. Was she being too harsh? But the most tragic thing is that the king's harsh decisions were correct and necessary. And the first person to leave the Round Table was Tristan, an emotional knight, a person who always sees sad things. Before leaving, he told the king that he did not understand people's hearts. The second person to leave the guild was Galahad, son of Lancelot. He heard rumors about a creature called the Holy Grail, so I decided to set out to find it. The second person to leave the guild was Galahad, son of Lancelot. He heard rumors about a creature called the Holy Grail, so he decided to set out to find it. It is said that you have actually found that creation of Jesus. These departures have had a huge impact, and the responsibility of governing the country continues to weigh heavily. Put the knight on Artoria's shoulders, but she still kept the dynasty stable. Thanks to that stability, had the effort to share the responsibility of his friend Lancelot, and the wisdom of the queen for her sake did not, because of his own trivial desires, destroy the king's 10-year campaign efforts. War. I will do anything for the queen, even give up my life. The saying comes from Lancelot's mouth, and so a forbidden love blossomed between Lancelot and Queen Guinevere. A perfect king sets an example and leads the people of the whole country, now forbidden by the perfect knight and the perfect queen. Could anything be more heartbreaking? What a perfect near phase. Artoria understands the queen's suffering as a woman herself. For the queen threw away a woman's happiness normal to play a role too big in life. Realizing that the opportunity had come to Morgan's power again, the Agravain Knight was brought in. I have known the secret for a long time now of a love triangle. He threatens Queen right in front of everyone. She was never worthy of King Arthur. Guinevere. Lancelot was extremely indignant at that. He was pointed out that he had no loyalty to the king. He drew his sword, taking the lives of many knight friends, and run back to your territory, Artoria, then sent a letter of forgiveness to Lancelot. My friend, my pride, my ideal. Knight, if you believe in your actions like that, there's definitely a good reason. I will ensure fairness for everyone. This caused Lancelot to fall into madness. Why can someone who betrays the king's trust be forgiven? In his heart, Lancelot knew clearly that he was at fault. Know that a man's life is extremely short, can't forever pursue an ideal ambition. can't live forever with a king who can't age. Time is cruel. Artoria is not human and does not know the happiness of a normal person. She is a greater monster than the white dragon Uncle Votigan, almost flawless white. Mordred hated the king already in his heart, immediately said words that shook the reputation of both the king and the Round Table, demanded that the incident be made public to the entire population. Queen Guinevere was sentenced to death according to the laws of the kingdom and locked up to await execution. Realizing something is wrong, Lancelot immediately returned to save his loved one. At this time, King Artoria, I heard again that there was a threat from the invaders of Rome, immediately received an army to protect the border where Morgan once again plotted to make Artoria lose. Avalon loses the healing ability of the sword sheath while his father was away. Mort met the queen in the closet, reveal her face and understand her only as the perfect king. Seeing the king's face, he proposed to me and joked with me, made the queen very sad. Furthermore, people outside also do not understand that the king is a woman, so he was harshly criticized without any mercy. It's true, Arthur should only be a temporary king, although there are many people outside who glorify her immortality, but in my heart, I was ready to point out that the king was just a 15-year-old child, and when she does everything well, no one will say anything when she is far away. They lose trust very quickly. Arthur is not a king accepted by all people. Lancelot led his army to the place, destroy the Low House, kill Gareth and Gaharic, as well as guarding the prison to save Guinevere and return to his domain. The people's hearts and Guinevere's heart were as unstable as a prison. Save Guinevere and return to his domain. The people's hearts and Guinevere's hearts are equally unstable. The only difference is that the muse is confused because she apologizes to the king, and the masses of people were confused because their faith was shaken violently. Mordred once again took action, leading the rebel army towards the throne and killing anyone who stood in his way. She alone believes that she will definitely be a better king than her father. No matter what gets in her way, she believes that she will definitely be a better king than her father. Civil war broke out between supporters and opponents until Artoria returned from the war. Both Lancelot and Gawain also returned when they heard the news of the war. The two met each other, and Gawain determined to defeat Lancelot to avenge his brothers Gareth and Gaharic. And Artoria and Mordred also faced each other on the Sword Hill in the midst of a fiery battlefield. Camlern. Mort pointed out that the country now has nothing left. It doesn't matter who wins anymore. She blamed the king's situation for not giving her the crown. Maybe the king still hates Morgan's son. Come like that. But Artoria, knowing full well that Mort never have enough qualifications of a king, and that also deeply tore her heart. Does she herself have enough qualifications to be king? After knocking Excalibur away and receiving enough from the trembling holy tree, including Minato, the armor was broken. Father and son faced each other, but in the end Artoria still could not accept this child. Exhausted, Mordred still managed to deliver the fatal blow to the king and his father. The last person next to the perfect king is the loyal knight Guinevere. Be strong and be your own king. Artoria gave her final strength to Bedivere, returned the sword for Lady of the Lake Vivian. So saddened by the king's fate, Bedivere could not be completed immediately, a mission that has to be accepted a third time. He just finished returning the sword and return. Artoria pen comes closer, closes eyes, hands down. Artoria's body and the holy spear was brought back to the place of the knight Kay, son of Hector the knight. Her family has taken care of her since she was 5 years old. Anthong was taken to the place of the knight Kay, the son of the knight Hector. Her family has taken care of her since she was 5 years old. She was taken next to Blackmoor Cemetery. Then the fairies, including Morgan and Vivian, brought Artoria back to the Garden of Avalon at this time. Morgan is really a gentle person. Perhaps she recognized the plums of both sisters. The plum number must hate his own younger sister. Ending the mystery of Artoria Pendragon, opening the age of humans. Based on the above story, We have many interesting developments that continue to take place in many different timelines. If Artoria wished she had a different way of being a king, we would have Face Stain Eye, Rope Face. I wish I had a different way of being a king. We'll have Stay Night Coffee, Rolfe. If Bediver does not return the sword to the Lady of the Ledge, we have the Grand Order Camelot, the Spiritual Round Table. If Mordor desires the throne and is accepted by his father to the end, we have Apocrypha Coffee. A little further, if the fairies do not forge Excalibur Coal, we have 6 different passages the moment the star was born. Thank you for watching the video until now. This is really a long story. In the video, there are certainly many errors in the process of collecting discrete information. Just like the process of translating from English and Japanese languages, it is easy to make mistakes. I hope you can point them out. For those of you who are new to the Fate universe, we also encourage you to explore the comment section, where viewers often share additional insights, corrections, and fascinating details about the series. And that was the story of Artoria Pendragon, Fate's interpretation of the legendary King Arthur. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to Bilbell. Don't forget to turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon, so you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is released. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again in the next video.